Have you ever wondered why some conversations feel electric, unforgettable, while others fade the moment they end? What if the secret to making a woman truly fall for you wasn't in what you say, but in what you ask? Most people think attraction is about being smooth, funny, or confident. But here's the truth no one talks about. The deepest connection starts with curiosity, not fake interest, not surface talk, but real, open-hearted questions that unlock something raw, something real. Think about it. How often do we ask people how they really feel? How often do we invite someone to share something that actually matters? You see, most men never even come close to that. They talk about themselves. They try to impress. They repeat the same tired compliments and generic questions that she's heard 100 times before. And then they wonder why the spark never happens, why she drifts away, why something just didn't click. It's because real connection, emotional, lasting, soul-deep connection, starts where most people are afraid to go. And here's where it gets powerful. The human mind is wired to crave emotional closeness. When someone truly sees us, hears us, understands us, we bond, we feel safe, we feel drawn to them without even knowing why. This isn't about playing games. This is about tapping into the deepest parts of who we are and who she is. It's about waking up the parts of her heart that have been asleep for years. That's what this is. That's what you're about to learn. 6 questions, not pickup lines, not tricks, but doorways, each one carefully designed to bypass the usual filters and go straight to the heart. These questions can spark chemistry. They can stir up emotion. They can make her remember you in a way no one else ever has. But only if you're brave enough to ask. And maybe right now you're wondering, what if I mess it up? What if I say it wrong? What if she thinks it's weird? But listen, the very fact that you're asking these questions makes you different. It makes you rare. It makes you real. And in a world full of masks, real is irresistible. So don't just watch, feel, let yourself go there. Let these questions not only guide how you connect with her, but how you connect with yourself. Because what you'll find isn't just a way to make a woman fall for you. You'll find a way to become the kind of man a woman wants to fall for. Present, courageous, honest, alive. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just have 6 questions. You'll have 6 keys, keys to trust, keys to intimacy, keys to creating a connection that no woman forgets. And maybe, just maybe, a connection that changes everything. Most men spend their entire lives chasing connection without ever learning how to create it. They focus on what to wear, what to say, how to act, always trying to impress, always trying to win someone over. But here's the truth that breaks that cycle. People aren't drawn to those who impress them. They're drawn to those who understand them. Because the moment someone feels understood, they lower their guard. And in that quiet lowering, something incredible happens. They start to trust. They start to open. They start to feel. This is why most conversations fail, because they never go deep enough to matter. We ask questions we already know the answers to. We hide behind small talk because we're afraid of rejection. But hiding never builds connection. Hiding builds distance. And if all you're offering is distance, how can anyone ever feel close to you? But when you learn to ask the right questions, questions that make her think, questions that make her feel, questions that make her pause and look at you differently, that's when the game changes. Not because you're trying to get something from her, but because you're offering something to her. Presence, curiosity, space to be real. And that offering, it's rare, it's powerful, it's unforgettable. So many people are starving for real, starving to be asked something that isn't rehearsed, starving to be heard without judgment, starving for a moment where they don't have to pretend. When you give that to someone, even just once, they remember you, not because of what you said, but because of how they felt when they were with you. And if she feels safe, seen, and alive around you, you don't need to convince her to like you. She'll feel it on her own. You're not here to perform. You're not here to impress. You're here to connect. And connection only happens when you lead with depth, not ego. That's what separates the man she forgets from the man she can't stop thinking about. Because anyone can flirt. Anyone can talk. But not everyone can reach her heart. And that's what these questions are designed to do. But there's one thing you need to know. If you're going to ask powerful questions, you must be ready for powerful answers. You must be strong enough to hold her truth, even when it's messy, even when it's vulnerable, even when it surprises you. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you trustworthy. She doesn't need a perfect man. She needs a real one. So now the choice is yours. Stay on the surface like everyone else or go deeper than you've ever gone. Ask with courage. Listen with your soul. Be the man who dares to see her fully. And when you do, she'll feel it. Not in her head, in her heart. And that's where love begins. Ask her this. What's something you've never told anyone, but wish someone asked you about? Let that question settle. Let it hang in the air like a sacred invitation. Because when you ask this, you're not just starting a conversation. You're opening a door to her soul. A door that most people will never see. A door that's been waiting, maybe silently, for someone brave enough to knock. And if you're that man, if you're willing to ask not from curiosity, but from care, something powerful begins to shift. She doesn't just hear the question, she feels it. And feeling is everything. You're not looking for a perfect answer. You're not collecting secrets to gain control. You're showing her that you're not afraid of depth, that you're not here to entertain her walls, but to meet her where she truly is. That question, when asked with real presence, does something almost no other question can do. It tells her you're safe. Safe to be raw. Safe to be human. Safe to finally let down what the world has forced her to carry for far too long. Think about that. We live in a world obsessed with presentation. Filters, profiles, polished words. But behind every image is a story that no one ever asks to hear. Every woman you meet is carrying something. A fear, a dream, a wound, a memory. Something unspoken. And most of the time, no one sees it. No one even tries. But when you do, when you lean in with the courage to ask what others avoid, she won't forget it. Because it won't feel like you're just learning about her. It'll feel like you're finally seeing into her. And that's rare. So rare it feels like magic, but it's not magic. It's intention. It's choosing to step outside the shallow and into the real. Most men are too scared to ask something that might get a heavy answer. They want easy. But connection isn't built in the easy. It's built in the honest. And if she senses that you're not there to judge, fix, or analyze, but just to listen, that's when she starts to open. That's when attraction turns into something deeper, something unforgettable. But remember, asking the question isn't the power. Holding space for the answer is. That means staying calm if she opens up, not filling the silence, not making it about you, just being there, strong, grounded, present, because when she sees that you can hold her truth without flinching, she'll feel something stronger than desire. She'll feel trust. And trust is the gateway to love. So don't underestimate this question. Ask it with care. Ask it with your heart. And when she answers, don't just hear her, feel her. Because in that moment, when she lets you see a part of her no one else has, the connection becomes real. And real is what makes her fall. When a woman shares something she's never told anyone, she's not just giving you words, she's offering you trust. And that trust is fragile. It's not won with charm. It's not held with ego. It's protected by presence. This is where most men get it wrong. They hear something deep, something real, and they rush to respond, to fix, to relate. But emotional connection doesn't need a solution. It needs stillness. It needs strength. It needs the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels sacred. That's what vulnerability does. It strips away the masks. It reveals the truth beneath the surface. And truth is magnetic. Not because it's always beautiful, but because it's always real. When she shows you her fear, her regret, her private ache, what she's really showing you is her humanity. And if you can meet that with compassion, not control, you become someone rare in her world. Someone who doesn't try to change her, but simply holds space for her to be fully seen. This is where deep emotional bonding begins. The moment she realizes she can be all of herself and still be accepted. That's the foundation of love. Not performance, not perfection, but freedom. The freedom to feel, to speak, to exist without the need to shrink or filter or hide. When you give her that, you're not just standing out, you're becoming unforgettable. Because you're giving her something even more valuable than attention. You're giving her safety. Psychologically, this is everything. The brain is wired to seek patterns of protection. When she feels safe, her body relaxes. Her heart opens. Her mind stops analyzing and starts feeling. And when a woman feels deeply, consistently, and safely with you, she bonds. Not out of need, not out of fear, but out of resonance. She starts to see you as part of her emotional world, a place where she's understood, and that kind of emotional imprint doesn't fade. But here's what you must understand. Vulnerability is a mirror. If you want her to open up, you must be willing to do the same. Not all at once, not with dramatic stories, but with simple truth, honest words, a calm willingness to share your own uncertainties. When you show that you're not afraid of your own emotions, you give her permission to trust hers. That balance creates mutual depth. That balance is the heartbeat of real connection. So if you want her to fall, not just for your looks or your voice or your confidence, but for your soul, let her feel what it's like to be seen without condition. Let her experience what it's like to share something raw and be met with quiet strength. That's how bonds are built. That's how trust is earned. And once trust is there, love doesn't need to be forced. It begins to grow on its own. Because where there is emotional safety, attraction becomes inevitable. And what's born from safety doesn't fade, it deepens. Ask her what experience has shaped her the most. Not just what she's proud of, not just what she remembers. Ask about the moment that changed her. The one that carved new meaning into who she is. The one that lives beneath her smile, her silence, her strength. Because when you ask that question, you're not fishing for facts, you're reaching for the foundation. You're inviting her to show you where her story truly began. Every woman carries a defining moment. It might be filled with pain, it might be filled with joy, but it changed her. It shaped her lens, her heart, her choices. And if she shares that with you, even in pieces, she's letting you into the core of her identity. Most people never get that far. They stay locked in what's comfortable, what's predictable. But you're not here to be like most people. You're here to stand out, not with noise, but with depth. Depth that leaves a mark. Because when she starts to reflect on what's shaped her, she reconnects to herself. And that's the power of asking something real. It doesn't just create a bond between you and her, it awakens her relationship with her own soul. When she begins to speak about what's defined her, you'll notice it. Her voice may slow, her eyes may shift, her body may soften. That's not weakness, that's alignment. She's not just telling you something, she's remembering who she is. And when you hold space for that remembrance, she begins to associate you with clarity, with grounding, with truth, and the effect goes deeper than you might realize. When someone reflects on what shaped them, they're revealing their values, what they protect, what they stand for, what they long for. And when you listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart, you begin to see the woman behind the surface. Not the version the world expects, not the version that's always put together, but the version that's real, layered, and alive. That's where emotional connection stops being a goal and starts becoming a moment. You don't need to give advice. You don't need to impress her with your own story. Just be there. Let her speak. Let her feel safe in the silence. That's when real trust is born, not through words, but through presence. And the more safe she feels with you, the more open she becomes. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. That willingness is what makes her heart start to lean in. That openness is what builds desire on a level no charm can replicate. So ask with patience, ask with humility, ask because you want to know, not because you want to get. That energy, pure, grounded, present, is what builds emotional gravity. And when gravity is there, love doesn't need to be chased. It arrives naturally, drawn in by the strength of who you are and the rare power of simply being someone who truly listens. Listening is not waiting to speak. It's not nodding along while planning your next move. Listening is presence. It's attention without agenda. It's the kind of silence that says, you matter here. Most men don't know how powerful this is. They think attraction is built with words, but real attraction, lasting connection, begins in the quiet spaces between them. When she feels that you're not just hearing her, but actually receiving her, something profound happens. She softens, she opens, she lets you in without even realizing she's doing it. This kind of listening is rare. It takes patience. It takes emotional discipline. You must let go of the need to impress, to fix, to compare. You must resist the urge to make it about you, because the moment you turn the spotlight back to yourself, you've lost the magic. You've told her without meaning to that her truth is just a pause before yours. And that's when the wall goes back up. That's when the connection dissolves. But if you stay present, if you truly let her speak, you create something that's more powerful than charm. You create safety. And safety, for a woman, is the gateway to everything. It's the signal her nervous system is constantly searching for. Not consciously, but biologically. When she feels safe, her body relaxes, her guard lowers, her energy shifts. And in that space, she becomes more of herself, not the version the world expects. Not the version that performs, but the version that feels. And when she can feel around you, with you, that's when attraction moves from the surface into the soul. This is the hidden secret of emotional connection. It's not built by doing more. It's built by being more grounded, more aware, more tuned in to what's being said and what's being felt. Listening with your whole presence tells her something that words never could, that she's safe to be human here, safe to be honest, safe to be seen. And when she senses that, even just once, she'll remember it. She'll remember you. This is how trust is built, not in grand gestures, but in quiet consistency, in the moments where she shares something uncertain and you don't flinch, in the pauses where she looks for judgment and finds none, in the subtle ways you prove again and again that you are not just hearing her, you are with her. That is the emotional glue. That is the depth most never reach. So when she speaks, listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. Hear the meaning beneath the words. Sense the emotion behind the pauses, and let her know through your silence, through your presence, that she's safe here, that she's not performing, that she's not being measured. She's simply being met. And in that moment, the space between you becomes something powerful, something magnetic, something unforgettable. And that, more than any line, is what makes her begin to fall. Ask her what scares her most about falling in love. Say it without pressure, without expectation. Just let the question float between you with gentle weight. It's not meant to expose her, it's meant to free her. Because behind every hesitation, every guarded glance, every "I'm fine when she's not," there's usually fear. Not fear of love itself, but fear of what it demands. Fear of being seen and left. Fear of giving her heart and watching it fall unheld. Fear of opening a door she's worked hard to keep locked. If she answers you honestly, even in fragments, you've touched something sacred. And how you respond to that answer will define everything that comes next. You are not asking her to be fearless. You are asking her to be real. And when someone is real with you, raw, exposed, uncertain, you do not analyze or correct. You do not downplay what they've carried. You meet it with respect. You meet it with warmth. You meet it with quiet strength, because that's what she's truly looking for. Not a man who promises he'll never hurt her, but a man who doesn't run when she shows him where she's been hurt before. There is a different kind of power in this question. It doesn't just open her heart. It reveals yours. Because when you ask something this intimate, you show her that you're not afraid of emotion. You show her that you are willing to walk into the darker corners of connection, the places where most people turn away. That willingness, that depth, is unforgettable. It tells her that maybe this time she won't have to face it all alone. Love does not grow in perfection. It grows in honesty. In the moments where someone admits they're scared and chooses to stay anyway. That's how trust is built, not on polished surfaces, but on shared humanity. When she tells you what scares her, she's not giving you weakness, she's giving you truth. And truth is the foundation of intimacy. Not the kind that flickers under pressure, but the kind that deepens with time. This is why most connections never last. They're built on performance, on pretending, but performance fades. And when it does, there's nothing left. But when you build with truth, with openness, with questions like this, you create something solid, something real, something that can be trusted, even when everything else feels uncertain. So ask her what scares her. Then, if you have the courage, share what scares you too. Not to match her, not to prove something, but to meet her, to let her see you. Because vulnerability is not weakness, it is the birthplace of love. The moment you both stop hiding is the moment you start connecting. And in that space where fear meets acceptance, love doesn't feel like a risk anymore. It starts to feel like home. If you want her to trust you with her truth, you must first learn to trust yourself with yours. You cannot lead her into depth if you're afraid of your own. The man who only asks never connects as deeply as the man who is also willing to reveal. It's not about confessing everything. It's about being honest enough to let her see that you feel too. That you bleed, doubt, dream, and fear just like she does. When you share from a place of grounded vulnerability, you stop being just someone she's talking to. You become someone she can feel with. There is a difference between emotional exposure and emotional leadership. Emotional exposure seeks validation. Emotional leadership creates space. When you lead with openness without needing anything in return, you show her that your strength isn't in your confidence. It's in your authenticity. You don't flinch in silence. You don't hide behind cool words or practice charm. You stand there, heart open, steady. That steadiness becomes safety. And that safety becomes attraction, because women are not drawn to perfection, they are drawn to presence. This is where everything begins to shift, when she sees that you are not trying to control the moment, but simply allowing it. When she realizes you are not performing for her attention, but offering your truth without apology. That kind of presence speaks louder than anything you could say. It tells her you are not just interested in her answers, you're invested in the connection itself. And this investment has to be real. It has to come from the part of you that's tired of shallow, the part of you that wants something that wakes your soul up, not just your senses. Because when you start showing up that way, you stop chasing women and start attracting something deeper. Not every woman will respond, but the right one will, the one who's also tired of pretending, the one who's been waiting to meet someone who listens with their eyes and speaks from their core. You can't fake this. You either feel it or you don't. But if you do, and you act from it, everything changes. You begin to realize that connection doesn't need to be forced. It just needs to be allowed. Allowed to breathe, allowed to unfold, allowed to be imperfect and still beautiful. And when she feels that energy from you, that gentle strength, that still certainty, she'll start to lean in. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because she feels safe enough to be herself. That's what all of this leads to. Not control, not games, but freedom. The freedom to speak without filter, to be seen without fear, to love without armor. But that kind of freedom requires leadership, the kind that starts inside you. If you want her to open her heart, show her yours. Show her that you can feel and not flinch, that you can stay steady even when things get real. Because when she feels that, love doesn't feel risky. It feels inevitable. Ask her what she values most in a relationship, not what she likes, not what she wants in a partner. Ask her what she truly values. Because when you ask that, you go beyond preferences. You go beyond attraction. You go straight to the heart of how she loves, how she connects, how she builds trust. Values are the compass of the soul. And if you want to walk beside her, you need to understand where her compass points. You need to know what makes her feel safe, fulfilled, and alive, not just in moments, but in something real and lasting. Most people skip this. They focus on chemistry, on compatibility. But real connection isn't built on matching hobbies or similar goals. It's built on shared values. That's what determines how you handle conflict, how you show up during stress, how you treat each other when no one is watching. If your values align, the relationship has roots. It has depth. It can bend without breaking. But if values clash, no amount of attraction will hold it together. That's why this question matters. That's why it opens the door to something far more powerful than surface-level connection. When she answers, listen not just to what she says, but how she says it. Does she light up when she talks about loyalty? Does her voice soften when she says honesty? Is there a pause, a breath, a shift when she names something she's never fully received? These are not just words, these are windows. Each one shows you who she is beneath the surface. Each one reveals the kind of love she's built for. And if you can meet her there, not just agree, but embody those values, you become more than someone she's interested in. You become someone she feels safe to invest in. And you must know your own values too. Because without them, you'll get lost in what others expect. You'll chase chemistry, thinking it's enough, until you realize that without shared principles, there's no direction. You don't need to match her perfectly. But you do need to understand her clearly. Because when two people can speak from their values, without fear, without filters, a different kind of connection forms. It's not just about being together. It's about building something together. So when you ask her what she values, you're not just starting a conversation. You're making a declaration that you care about more than attraction, that you care about alignment, that you care about building something strong, something deep, something true. And when she feels that, when she realizes you're not asking just to ask, but to truly know her, her energy changes, her defenses lower, her heart opens. Because deep down, every woman wants to be loved for who she really is. Not for the way she looks, not for the roles she plays, but for the truths that live beneath her words. Ask for those truths, and you'll find a kind of connection most people only dream about. Emotional depth is not created by words alone. It's created by how you navigate the spaces between them. When she opens up to you, when she begins to share her values, her fears, her truths, you must learn how to meet her where she is, not where you want her to be. That's called emotional calibration. The ability to feel what she's feeling without needing to control it. The strength to remain present when things get real. And the wisdom to recognize that connection is not about rushing forward, but about aligning step by step. This is where most people fail. They move too fast. They turn deep moments into opportunities for outcome. They hear something raw, and they jump to fix it. But when you do that, you're not connecting, you're escaping. You're stepping out of her experience and into your own agenda. And nothing kills intimacy faster than emotional impatience. Because when she's sharing something real, she's not looking for answers. She's looking for presence. She's testing your ability to hold space, to feel with her, not to lead her somewhere safer. This is the silent language of trust. Emotional timing. The ability to know when to speak, when to listen, when to just be. It's not about silence for the sake of silence. It's about the silence that says, I'm here. I'm not afraid of what you're feeling. I don't need to escape it. I can stand here with you and not flinch. That kind of presence rewires how she experiences you. It tells her without a single word that you're emotionally intelligent enough to respect her rhythm. And that's what builds something deeper than desire. That's what earns the right to her truth. If she's quiet, don't fill the space. Let her sit with her thoughts. If she's emotional, don't shift the topic. Feel it with her. If she pulls back slightly, don't chase. Stay steady, stay open, stay connected. Because the way you respond in those small in-between moments tells her more about your emotional maturity than anything you could ever say. And when she realizes you can feel without reacting, you become more than attractive. You become safe. Every strong connection requires pacing. You can't force depth. You can only invite it. And once it's there, your ability to calibrate, to adjust, to hold the moment without fear, that's what makes her feel like she's finally found someone who gets it. Someone who doesn't just ask deep questions, but understands what to do with the answers. Someone who can handle her in her fullest expression, not just the soft, pretty parts, but the messy, uncertain ones too. That's the difference between temporary attraction and lasting connection. Temporary attraction wants intensity. Lasting connection wants alignment, and alignment only happens when you're attuned, present, and patient. So slow down, tune in, let the connection breathe. Because when she feels that you're not rushing, not pushing, not performing, she relaxes. And in that space of calm, trust takes root. And once trust is there, love begins to grow on its own. Ask her this: if you could relive one moment in your life, what would it be and why? Then listen. Not just to the memory, but to the emotion wrapped inside it. Because the moment she chooses will reveal more than just a story. It will show you what her heart longs for. It will show you what she holds sacred. It will show you what lights her soul on fire. People don't remember moments at random. They remember what mattered, what left a mark, what made them feel most alive, most seen, most real. And when she shares that moment with you, she's letting you glimpse the part of her that still aches to feel that way again. Every woman carries those memories, buried under the weight of routine, hidden behind strength, guarded by time. But they're there, quiet, glowing, waiting to be felt again. Not just remembered, but experienced. And when you invite her to bring one of those moments back to life, you're not just connecting with her mind. You're reaching into her heart and asking, without words, show me what matters most to you. Show me where your joy lives. Show me the version of you that feels free. And when she answers, it's not about analyzing it. It's not about making it romantic or turning it into a perfect conversation. It's about honoring it. Letting her see that you care about what shaped her, that you want to know what lifts her up, not just what weighs her down. That you're not just interested in her pain, but in her passion. Because a woman wants to feel understood, but she also wants to feel celebrated. She wants to know that someone sees her brilliance, her spirit, her spark, and actually values it. When you ask a question like this, you create space for her to shine, to speak from a place she rarely gets to visit. And when she does, when she steps back into that memory, it becomes real again. It floods her body with feeling. And if she's experiencing it with you beside her, if you're the one asking, listening, holding space for it, then you become linked to that emotion. You become part of that joy. You become part of that moment. This is how emotional bonding works. It's not just about sharing experiences in real time. It's about feeling things together, even if they happened long ago. Because emotion doesn't live in the past. It lives in the present moment you feel it. And if she feels something powerful in your presence, something meaningful, something true, she will remember you every time she remembers that feeling. So ask her what she would relive and why. Not to impress her, not to be clever, but to understand her joy, to learn what lifts her soul. And when you do, she won't just feel heard. She'll feel valued. And when a woman feels valued for who she really is, that's when connection becomes chemistry. That's when interest becomes intimacy. That's when the bond begins to grow roots that nothing can shake. Ask her what she's most afraid of losing. Because that question doesn't just uncover her fears, it uncovers what she cherishes most. When someone tells you what they're afraid of losing, they're handing you a piece of their soul. They're not just revealing a fear, they're showing you what gives their life meaning, what they protect, what they fight for, and what they need to feel safe, seen, and understood. Every woman has something sacred, something she guards quietly behind strength or independence or kindness. When you invite her to name it, you help her see herself with new clarity. And that moment changes everything. Most people don't ask questions like this. They stay on the surface. They chase connection through comfort, not depth. But real emotional attraction isn't built in comfort, it's built in truth. When you help her explore the things she's scared to lose, you give her a space to breathe, to reflect, to be honest without judgment. And the person who gives someone that kind of space doesn't get forgotten. They become unforgettable because they touch something most people never even notice. You'll notice her posture shift when she answers. Her tone will change. Her words might slow down. That's because she's going somewhere real. She's not performing. She's not trying to impress. She's dropping the mask. And in that moment, if you stay present, if you meet her with patience, empathy, and presence, you're no longer just someone she's talking to. You become someone she feels with. And feeling together is the beginning of falling. Her fear of loss isn't weakness. It's proof of love. People only fear losing what they've deeply invested in. That might be family. It might be her sense of purpose. It might be self-respect, her identity, or a dream she's carried since childhood. Whatever it is, your job isn't to fix it or comment on it. Your job is to honor it. Because once you know what she's scared to lose, you know what you should protect. And that awareness is a powerful form of emotional leadership. A woman falls for a man who makes her feel emotionally secure, not by avoiding hard topics, but by stepping into them with care and strength. She wants to know that when life gets messy, when fears rise up, when the walls come down, you won't disappear, you won't judge, you won't turn away. You'll be there, grounded, open, listening, loving. When she tells you what she's afraid of losing, believe her. That's not a small answer. That's a gateway to who she truly is. Hold that truth like something precious, because it is. And if you carry that awareness into every moment with her, she'll start to trust you in ways she never planned to. And when trust like that forms, not just attraction, but soul-deep safety, that's when everything changes. That's when love begins to grow in the space between your presence and her truth. And that's when she starts to fall, not by force, but by feeling understood. Ask her what makes her feel most alive. That question reaches deeper than attraction, deeper than chemistry. It touches the fire that drives her. Every person is chasing a feeling, even if they can't name it. But when you ask her this, you help her find the words. You help her reconnect with something wild and beautiful inside herself. Because in the end, we all crave to feel fully awake, fully present, fully here. And the moments that make us feel alive are clues to who we really are beneath everything the world tells us to be. When she answers, she might talk about adventure or creativity or helping others. It could be dancing, writing, being in nature, or simply feeling free from judgment. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters how she lights up when she talks about it. You're not asking for the sake of curiosity. You're asking to know her essence, to see her soul without the armor, to understand what she needs, not just to survive, but to thrive. And when she speaks from that place, you'll notice something shift in her. She won't just be talking, she'll be remembering, and that memory will flood her with the energy of who she is at her best. Most people are too distracted to ask questions that invite this kind of truth. But if you're the one who helps her rediscover what makes her heart race, what gives her goosebumps, what makes time disappear, she'll never forget how you made her feel. Because she won't just feel attracted to you, she'll feel seen. Not for her appearance, not for her status, but for her inner world, for the spark she might have buried just to get through life. And when someone helps her bring that spark back to life, it creates emotional gravity, the kind that draws her in without trying, the kind that builds trust without effort, the kind that makes her want to open up again and again. When a woman feels alive in your presence, she doesn't analyze it. She feels it. She feels safe to be herself without shrinking. She feels inspired to speak without censoring. She feels like her energy matters. That feeling becomes addictive, not in a desperate way, but in a soul-deep way. And once that connection is made, no surface-level interaction can compete. So ask her what makes her feel most alive, and really care about the answer. Let her express it fully. And if you can, encourage it. Not because it benefits you, but because it nurtures her. Because when a woman sees that you support her aliveness, her purpose, her light, she naturally feels drawn to you. Her heart opens not from pressure, but from freedom. And love born from freedom is the kind that lasts, the kind that grows stronger with time, the kind that doesn't just spark attraction, but ignites connection at the deepest level. That's what makes her fall, not for who you pretend to be, but for who you are when you truly care. Ask her what she's never been allowed to want, not what she was told to want, not what's acceptable or admired or safe, but what she's been silently craving deep beneath the surface, where no one's ever bothered to look. Every woman carries secret desires, the kind that never got permission to exist. Maybe because of judgment, maybe because of past heartbreak, maybe because the world around her made her feel like wanting more was selfish. But those hidden wants don't go away. They wait. And when someone finally gives her space to name them, something powerful happens. She begins to come home to herself. That question isn't just about learning what she wants. It's about showing her that you're ready to accept all of her. The wild, the messy, the unapologetic. When she realizes she doesn't need to filter her longings around you, she begins to feel a rare kind of freedom. Most people only ask safe questions. They want predictable answers. But when you ask her what she's never felt allowed to want, you offer her something far more rare: emotional liberation. You give her a chance to breathe without guilt, to speak without shame, to dream without fear. That kind of space changes everything. It unravels the fear that's kept her small. It dissolves the belief that no one would understand, and it starts building something more valuable than chemistry: trust. Not just trust in you, but trust in herself. Because the moment she sees she can express her hidden desires and still be held with presence, something clicks. She doesn't just feel liked, she feels safe. She feels worthy. And when a woman feels worthy in your presence, her heart stops guarding. Her love stops hesitating. She begins to open, not out of pressure, but out of peace. This question invites her to confront the difference between who she is and who she was told to be. And that's not just attractive, that's sacred. Because when a woman meets a man who sees past her masks and welcomes the full force of her unspoken dreams, he becomes more than interesting. He becomes unforgettable. She doesn't fall because you impressed her. She falls because you reminded her of who she really is. And that kind of connection doesn't fade. It deepens, it evolves, it breathes. If you want to be the kind of man who draws a woman in on a soul level, learn to see the parts of her she's learned to hide. Create the kind of presence that makes her feel like she doesn't need to choose between love and freedom. Because when you give her both, when you let her want without fear, you awaken a part of her that's been waiting to be loved right there. Not for who she pretends to be, but for who she dares to become. That's the moment she begins to feel something deeper. And from that feeling, she starts to fall. Not because you asked the perfect question, but because you gave her the perfect space. Ask her what she's most afraid to lose. That one question breaks through the surface and dives into the raw center of her emotional world. Not because you're trying to expose her pain, but because you want to understand her strength. Every woman guards something, whether it's her independence, her sense of identity, the people she loves, or the dreams she's worked so hard to protect. And when you ask her this, you're not trying to take anything away. You're proving you care enough to know what truly matters to her. That level of interest tells her you're not here to waste time. You're here to feel. When she answers, it might shake her. It might bring up emotion. And that's the point. Not to cause pain, but to create honesty. Vulnerability is never convenient. It shows up when the heart recognizes safety. And safety isn't built with charm, it's built with depth. When you ask her what she's most afraid to lose, you show her you're not afraid of her intensity. You're not here for small talk. You're here to understand what drives her, what she values, what she fears, and what she would fight for if it ever came down to it. That's the kind of question that leaves a mark, because it says, I see more in you than what you show the world. It gives her permission to drop her guard, not because she's trying to impress you, but because she feels seen enough not to need the armor. And when a woman feels that kind of presence, she doesn't just connect, she surrenders, not to you, but to her truth. She stops performing, she starts revealing. And through that revelation, real connection begins. So many people skip this step. They focus on being interesting instead of being present. But when you guide her to explore what she fears losing most, you access the root of her passion. Because whatever she's afraid to lose is what she loves most deeply. It's what she's built her identity around. It's what keeps her grounded when life spins out of control. And if you respect that part of her, if you cherish it, you become someone she doesn't just enjoy, but trusts. Not just someone she dates, but someone she considers safe enough to grow with. That's where the shift happens. She no longer sees you as a passerby. She sees you as a mirror, a man who reflects back the depth of her being, not the surface of her smile. That's what changes the way she looks at you, not your words, not your image. But the feeling that with you, she's allowed to be human. Allowed to have fears, desires, doubts, and hopes, and still be met with steady presence. When she realizes she doesn't have to hide what matters most, her heart naturally leans in, not because you asked something clever, but because you asked something real. And in a world full of masks, nothing is more powerful than that. Ask her what she used to believe about love but doesn't anymore. That question reaches into her past and unlocks the stories she doesn't always tell. Not because they're secrets, but because most people never care enough to ask. This is where walls begin to fall, because when you touch the truth of someone's change, you touch the truth of who they've become. Behind every woman is a version of herself that once believed in something beautiful, something naive, something hopeful. And maybe that belief was broken, maybe it faded slowly, or maybe it was torn away in a single moment. But no matter how it happened, it shaped her. This question isn't about reopening wounds, it's about honoring the journey. Because love changes people. It teaches, it humbles, it challenges, and it scars. When you ask her what she used to believe, you're inviting her to reflect on the very foundation of her romantic heart, not in judgment, but with compassion. You're saying, I want to know not just how you love now, but how your heart got here. That's rare. That's powerful, because most conversations stay in the present. But connection lives in the past just as much as it does in the moment. And when she shares the beliefs she no longer holds, she's showing you where she's grown and where she's still healing. She might tell you she used to believe love always lasts, or that it always hurts, or that it fixes everything, or that it's not worth the risk. Whatever her answer, listen with everything you have, because in those words, she's not just describing past experiences. She's revealing current fears, desires, and boundaries. And if you can understand the history of her heart, you can navigate her present with more grace, more respect, and more power, not by avoiding pain, but by recognizing its purpose. Growth is attractive, not perfection. When she sees that you're not intimidated by the parts of her that changed, she feels safe to be honest. And honesty is the doorway to emotional intimacy. If she tells you she used to believe love was easy, but now sees it as a choice, pay attention. That tells you she values effort. If she says she used to believe words mattered more than actions, but now she trusts behavior over promises, that tells you she's watching who you are, not just what you say. These insights aren't just answers. They are emotional roadmaps. They show you how to meet her where she is, not where you wish she was. And when you listen, not to fix, but to feel, you become unforgettable. Because most people want to be heard, but few ever truly are. When a woman feels that you honor her evolution, that you care not just about who she is, but how she became her, her guard doesn't just drop, it dissolves. And in that space of raw honesty, love can finally breathe. Not the fantasy version, but the kind that's rooted in truth, mutual growth, and deep emotional safety. Ask her what she's never been allowed to feel. Most people carry emotions that were buried, silenced, or punished. Not because they were wrong to feel them, but because someone else made them believe they were. That question doesn't just explore her heart. It opens a space few have ever created for her. It tells her that her full emotional range is welcome, that her rage, her grief, her longing, her joy, none of it is too much, because every woman has been told at some point in her life that one of her feelings was inconvenient, too loud, too soft, too needy, too proud. And every time that happened, she learned to hide a little more. But when you ask her that question, you tell her she doesn't have to hide anymore. Not from you, not from herself. It's not just a question. It's an invitation to truth. It's an unspoken promise that you are strong enough to hold what she's never had space to express. And the moment she feels that, genuinely feels it, something changes. Her defenses begin to lower, not out of weakness, but because she senses strength in you. Not the strength of ego or control, the strength of presence. The kind of strength that doesn't flinch when someone else feels deeply. If she tells you she was never allowed to feel angry, listen to what's underneath. Was her anger always turned into guilt? Did someone teach her that peace meant silence? If she tells you she was never allowed to feel proud, listen for where her light was dimmed. Did someone make her shrink so they could feel bigger? And if she tells you she was never allowed to feel loved without earning it, pay attention to how often she overextends herself just to feel worthy. These answers aren't just memories. They are keys. They show you where the emotional chains still live. And they show her something too, that it's possible to be fully felt, fully seen, and fully safe in the presence of someone who chooses to witness, not control. This is not about fixing her. It's about honoring her. When a woman is given permission to feel what she was once forbidden to, she reconnects with her own power. And when you are the one who holds that space, she doesn't just respect you, she remembers you. You become different from every surface-level connection she's had before. Because while most people are interested in what makes her smile, few have the courage to face what's made her silent. And silence is where truth hides. When you reach in gently and say, "It's safe now," that moment leaves a mark no charm or game could ever replicate. Love isn't born from always knowing the right thing to say. It's born from creating the right space to feel. When you give her back the parts of herself she was once made to bury, she won't just fall for you, she'll rise with you.